And where are you? That's right. How long were you involved in triple listing? Okay. I could see that. Why do you have to? I love that. No, like it's so good. I'm actually not. Why not? No, I don't know. No, but it's so good. It's so well. Maybe that's something.
Oh, Karina, yes, yes. It is. So they're good friends, and then we became friends. Now we're staying with each other. Are there any? Are there a lot of He's helping. No way. Program are you in? AK 1 or 2. Actually, that was.
How do you see? I wasn't there. I know.
It's weird. Have it. Hours.
Hello, everyone. It is now 7:06. We're going to call the fifth council meeting to order. So if everyone can please take their seats. We're going to begin with our land acknowledgement from Councillor Smith. So whenever you're ready, come on up.
I acknowledge personally the immense injustices done to the original people of Turtle Island and make it a part of my mission to ensure they can find support on our campus. I acknowledge that education was used as a tool of oppression, and I recognize that Indigenous students have a unique relationship and history with educational institutions because of that fact. I do this personally to play my small role in ensuring that Call 7 from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to actions to narrow the educational gap between settler students and educational and Indigenous students is narrowed. I as well call on all my fellow students and student leaders to do the same. Moving on to more of my own personal history as part of these land acknowledgement, kind of acknowledging my own history to land. I acknowledge that I am a guest. My mom's family has only been here for about maybe 100 or so years, I think. We settled on stolen land near the Mississaugas of the Credits Reservation, kind of more near, I think, oh, I'm not very good at geography, near that around, I think Lake Ontario. We settled on there, again, 100 years. That is a long time in certain contexts, but it is not, it's nothing in comparison to the time spent by Aboriginal people of Turtle Island on this land. I am but a guest living on stolen land. Meanwhile, my dad's family, we've been here honestly even less. I would say around 50 years tops after the end of World War II, when our entire life was destroyed in England. We chose to settle in London. Again, this was never land that was ours. We recognize and acknowledge that the USC operates on a campus of the University of Western Ontario, which is situated on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenapewauk, Attawandaron, and Chinatown nations, all of whom have long-standing relationships with the land of Southwest Ontario and the city of London. The First Nation communities of our local area include the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and the Munsee Delaware Nation. In our region, there are 11 First Nation communities, as well as a growing Indigenous urban population. USC values the historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations, as well as all original peoples of Turtle Island, also known as North America. As student leaders and advocates, we need to ensure that treaty terms are maintained and followed and respected as well. Some treaties made in regards to our local area include the Two-Row Wampum Belt Treaty of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Silver Covenant Train, the Beaver Hunting Grounds of the Haudenosaunee, Nanfan Treaty of 1701, the McKee Treaty of 1790, the London Township Treaty of 1796, the Huron Tract Treaty of 1827, the Anishinaabe, and the In the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum with Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee. May we honor the teachings and stewardship of this land. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Smith. Next, we're going to hear our fight song. If anyone wants to give a little performance, feel free. If not, we can just listen. Okay, next we are going to do our roll call. So all counselors, please proceed to Echo 360 to record your attendance. Okay, thank you for the roll call. Next, we're going to move into the approval of our agenda. So the agenda today includes the following items. We have the approval of the agenda and minutes. We have comments from the chair, executive presentations. We have a board of directors report. Next, we will move into our action section, our for action section, which will include the USA delegate election for the spring assembly, the election of 2 counselors to the speaker and deputy speaker hiring panel, the election of a counselor to the club's governance board hiring committee, and the motion to approve the executive presentations. After those motions, we'll go into the first reading for the motion to approve provincial budget submission recommendations, the motion to approve amendments to the nominating and selection committee terms of reference, the motion to approve amendments to the executive officer accountability and discipline procedure, the motion to approve amendments to the executive officer terms of reference, the motion to approve amendments to bylaw 3, and then finally the motion to approve amendments to bylaw 4. And then in part 2 of our meeting next week, we'll include a second reading and voting on those 6 motions, as well as time for questions and comments from the Western community and any new business. Before we move to approve the agenda, are there any questions regarding the agenda of this meeting? Okay, are there any amendments to the agenda that need to be made or any points of debate? All right, seeing as there are no further questions, amendments, or objections, do I have a mover to approve this agenda? Councillor Malabanan, and a seconder? Councillor Teodorascu. Okay. So now we're going to move on to Echo 360 to vote for the approval of the agenda. Perfect. So our agenda has been approved. Next, we're going to go on to the approval of minutes from our last meeting. Can I have a mover to introduce the motion? Councillor Matsukawa. Okay, and a seconder, please. Councillor John, thank you. Are there any questions regarding the minutes from last meeting? Are there any amendments or points of debate? All right, any objections to the approval of our minutes? Yay, okay, so now let's move to Echo 360 again, and we will vote to approve the minutes. All right, our minutes from our last meeting have been approved. Next, we're going to do some comments from the chair. So you may have noticed I'm going to be the acting speaker for this meeting. So I appreciate all of your patience with me while I figure this out. And I'm hoping that I've heard most of your names out loud enough times that I'll get them at least close to right. As a reminder, I sent it out in that email I sent on Friday, but we're hoping to have a council dinner in the coming months. So please fill out that Google form. It was all the way at the end of the email. So it's a little test if you read the whole email or not. But we're trying to figure out what date works best for everyone or what day of the week. So if you could fill that out, that'd be much appreciated. And that will be at the Wave also. Just another comment. I also put this in the email, but I'm going to reiterate it now so members of the audience can also hear. As the election period begins, we would like to provide a reminder that campaigning is not permitted in USC spaces, including at council meetings. Individuals involved in the campaigning process are permitted to be in the gallery during the meeting or in their seats if they are part of council. But anyone wearing campaign-related clothing, merchandise, or actively talking about their campaign in any way may be considered in violation of election rules. Another note, please remain seated and quiet during all the voting periods today, especially during the elections. We want to give everybody the chance to focus and cast their most critical vote. And goes the same with snacks. If you need to get up and throw out garbage or anything, just wait until recess. We'll have a few recesses. It'll be a long meeting. And finally, there's yet again another event going on in Mustang Lounge. So if that is disruptive to anyone, you can call a point of personal privilege and we can recess and try and wait until it dies down a little bit. So let's all try and stay focused on this, but there is going to be some noise over there. Okay, that's all for me. Now we're going to go into our January exec reports. I'll call up President Collegian to start.
Hey everybody, happy election season. I'm really sorry to everyone that I have ignored. Wanted to start off with that. I'm not ignoring you on purpose. Well, actually I am, but just wanted to say that it's not coming from a place of malice. I love you all. And I know this is a hard time, so just wanted to preface. I would say if you wanted to ask me something about this week or the past month, it was a really good time. I went to McMaster and I led my first ever professional development session. Which was really, really cool. They did a conference called Breaking Barriers, where they talked about women in leadership and politics, kind of how to, I guess, like break into the scene when it comes to that. And we got really close to the USC equivalent at McMaster, which was fun. 3 highlights: catching up with my exec squad post winter break. We're all besties, we all overshare, and we all really needed to just catch up because we're all so close. So it was nice to see people and hear about what they were up to. Seeing people excited about elections. Soft pub was so fun. I love seeing everybody in their gear. It was our last one, sadly, for the year at least. And it was really, really cool. So updates, I was able to sit on a panel with Western Sustainability because they are actually releasing a strategic plan on environmental sustainability for the university, which is really big. A lot of you might not know this, but Western is actually rated as one of the most sustainable universities in Canada, which I feel like is something that they should parade a lot more than they actually do. And so we kind of talked about ways in which we can get students engaged with these initiatives on campus. A big thing that I brought up is, as we know, the first week of school gets people really engaged and get to, see what Western has to offer. We don't really talk about opportunities to engage with sustainability. So that's something that they're probably going to explore in the strategic plan that's most prevalent, I think, for the people in this room. And then they had a visioning meeting, and they did this all with Perkins and Will, which is like the architectural company that they do a lot of their consulting with, which is cool. They actually were the ones who designed the Schmeichel building, fun fact. MAP 1.1 revision. So in early February, there's going to be a consultation with different student leaders. So the USC SOGs will be invited, as well as student senators will be able to comment on any revisions that were made with the ultimate findings of the consultations that I mentioned to you guys about in, I think it was November or December. So it's good to see that it's moving along in a fashion that they somewhat promised, which is, it's, and also too, we were able to bring all the feedback that you brought forward back to them. And I think that was reflected for the most part. Haven't really seen a concrete policy yet, looking at Jenna because she's a student senator as well, doubling here. Next is MOU renewal. So I got to meet with Rick and Carl. We talked about our agreement. I think we stuck on with every 3 years with a 1-year review, if I'm correct. Yes. It was a long time ago. Sorry, boys. But yeah, so it's kind of nice. Every year we kind of look at, with the different terms that we have. So for example, at Western USC, we don't make our affiliates pay a full club's tuition there, just because we know that they have their own unique clubs and things along those lines. So we try to give that lenience. We have those conversations, and we have a great relationship. So it's good to carry that forward. And as well as the student senator. So we're actually going to be adding more to the student senator budget moving forward, which is good. And then I actually met with Sharon from the SOGS, from the Society of Graduate Students today, and she's the president, and we chatted about our MOU, which is not so relevant to you guys in this room, but it's happening, which is important for you to know. Next, I'm going to be talking numbers the next time I'm up here, which will be so fun and so engaging. And you're all going to read the budget, and you're all going to have lots, actually maybe not too much to say about it, but make sure you take a look. And if you need any help or have any questions, we're all here to guide you through that. Myself, Dane, it's kind of what our jam is here. So it's really important that you stay engaged in this, because These are fees that ultimately impact every single student. So make sure you engage in that process and come back with, some constructive things to say, if that makes sense. So that'll be the next meeting. And then transition. So one of the things that I really wanted to hone down this year is really standardizing our transition. I think every year, a lot for the most part, our execs tend to, I would say they have their own method to the madness, right? But I really want to move it forward and make sure that we kind of have something that's a little bit more stable, and it kind of makes sure that all the information and the knowledge that we got this year, we easily bring it over to the next. Student code of conduct survey. So if you're a faculty president, you should have gotten an email from me today. Did everyone get an email from me today? Faculty presidents. Yeah, awesome. So on the 30th, I still have to email you, Rick and Carl. I didn't leave you out, I promise. So I'm on the renewal or the review board for the student code of conduct. They do it every 5 years. What this means is that, for more intense offenses, I guess you could say, students can refer to the code. This year, it's really nice to have, myself and Sharon, who really advocated to ensure that student feedback would be welcomed at a grand stage. So it's actually going to be a feedback session here on January 30th. And you'll be able to talk to senior administrators about the code and how it interacts with students, which I think is really, really important. The code is not ever something that you want to have interface with, but when you do have interface with it, you want to ensure that everything is smooth and that you understand what it's all about. And then lastly, we're trying to figure out our mini state of the USC. We did a survey that Shreya will talk about, which is really exciting. We'll do results nights and see who will be up here next year. But other than that, that's everything. Do you have any questions? No? Cool. Okay.
Thank you, President Collegian. We'll now call on Vice President Batista to come up and give her report.
Hey everyone. I hope everyone's break went really well. I know mine did. I'm really glad. I really needed that break. So now that we're back in action, I guess I'll start with my Ask Me About. So I went to Brazil for the break. I'm from Brazil. My family lives there. Yeah. So so yeah, I got to see my family. It was really nice and warm. And then I came back, and the next day was the campus closure because of like all the snow and stuff. So that was really great to come back to. But yeah, so some highlights. The Sway Lee concert was really, really fun. I got to take a picture with him. So that was really cool. And I will forever flex that. And then the Frost Week event. So that was also very fun. The part I liked the most, I think, was the skating rink that we had set up in Mustang Lounge. I did fall a few times, but it's okay. I got back up. So, and then finally catching up with everyone over the break, seeing you guys, catching up with my exec team. That was really sweet. And yeah, so some updates. So first off, in terms of our position papers, so with the BIPOC and religious students position paper, we're wrapping that up this month. So we're doing some final consultations before it's brought to the UA Standing Committee for final review, and then hopefully to council after that. In terms of the anti-sexual and gender-based violence and the sustainability position papers, Michelle and I are in our consultation phase, consulting with different internal and external groups. And so we're going to be doing that throughout January and February, and then beginning the drafts for both of those papers. Regarding Free the Dot. So if you remember from my previous report, we put up QR codes on the machines. So we're still kind of like leaving them up for this month, trying to collect more information on the usage with all the machines. And then from there, we will be analyzing which ones we can move to more high traffic areas. So that'll be coming soon. And then the request for the second installment of the grant was submitted to Western. So we're hoping to expect it soon for next year. And then, yeah, advocacy next year will kind of be more looking at trying to guarantee funding for what comes after next year in terms of Free the Dot and menstrual equity. So that's that. In terms of the structure of the academic year policy, so I am on the working group for that, and I advocated for a student survey to be put out, which is underway. So Western's taking that on, and that'll be finalized and released on the week of February 3rd. They'll be sending it out in an email blast, but then we'll also hopefully be doing some USC cross promotion there too. And then we're also in the consultation phase for with the working group. So I'll soon be scheduling a meeting with the VP academics with the academic roundtable to get some feedback on the structure of the academic year policy. So your VP academics from your faculty councils should expect to receive an email from me soon. In regards to the ombuds person hiring committee, I sit on that. And I've been reviewing the written applications and recorded interviews that's been done. And so we've selected the candidates for the second round of interviews. So I've been sitting in on a few of those. And then regarding food security. So as you know, we did the food security survey last semester. Right now I'm working on consolidating the data from that survey, as well as the data from food support services, looking at using that to then draft recommendations to the university. In regards to food redistribution advocacy, so over the summer, I engaged with hospitality services a number of times to talk about redistribution strategies within residence dining halls. And so the hospitality services has been using a program called Second Harvest, which is a donation platform that offers surplus food to the greater London community. Now that's great and all, but at the time they didn't offer it specifically with residence dining. So I continue to encourage them to implement that. And so as of fall last semester, residence dining has now included the Second Harvest program. So all dining halls, eateries, and catering services participate in that program. The only thing is now the advocacy moving forward, since their focus has been on expanding this program, more so we're trying to see if we can advocate for finding additional ways to redistribute the surplus food to students specifically, as we see that that's kind of a need. We've seen from the results of the food security survey, for example, that is a need that students have. And currently the Second Harvest program is donating to the greater London community, which is great and all, but we also want to see if we can find ways to redistribute that to students. So that's something I'm still continuing to work on, hopefully putting that in a recommendation with the food security recommendations that I was talking about. And then microwaves. So this has been something that has been brought to me a few times, and we're finally moving forward with that. So thank you to everyone who has been in contact with me about this. So I'm currently speaking with full-time staff to install a few microwaves in the UCC building. We're looking right now at reviewing costs associated with that, with the installation, the maintenance and cleaning and such. So hopefully that will be installed and in the UCC by the end of my term, which is great. And then in terms of final grade deadlines advocacy, so I touched a little bit about this last semester. I've had initial conversations with the vice provost academic programs and the registrar in first semester about the advocacy around getting final grades from first semester out to students early in second semester, like having them be released earlier. There wasn't much uptake. However, we're now trying to get more like data from students. We're trying to capitalize on the fact that it is the beginning of the semester. So you might have seen a post that we put out recently asking students if they've gotten their final grades back. And so we're trying to just collect some data to then be able to bring it back to the vice provost and the registrar to just kind of show the need that students have regarding this kind of advocacy to see if we get more uptake there. And then in terms of some upcoming stuff, so there's the harm reduction campaign that I've been planning on March 10th. It's going to be. So it's a communication campaign, and I'm working with Western Wellness and Wellbeing to promote resources available at Western, as well as like resources other students can use online too. The goal is kind of to kickstart this partnership for years to come and make it an annual event. I know the USC has done some like previous programming, but I really want to push for a bigger kind of annual event. And this is also the first year that the USC has ever really tackled advocacy around substance and alcohol misuse on campus. So that's been really great to be a part of that conversation. So my hope is to make sure that the advocacy continues over the next few years, but like starting with this kind of communications campaign, kickstarting this, getting the conversations going. That's kind of my goal right now. And then, yeah, planning transition. So my term is ending, which is really sad. But I am very excited to transition the next person in my role. So I am putting together resources, writing my final reports So that's good. And then last or second last, in terms of accessibility recommendations. So there's more information in terms of the background on this in the exec report documents. But basically, I'm working with the project manager for accessibility. They're under student experience, and they were appointed to implement the 185 accessibility recommendations from the ministry. So basically what that is there are certain AODA recommendations that were put forth by a committee that soon some of these recommendations will be legislated by the Ministry of Colleges and Universities and will require compliance. So I've been working with the project manager to kind of see where there's overlap with the USC, where we can help support implementing these recommendations. So that's that. And then finally, Advocacy Day and Menstrual Equity Day. Still working on planning that, logistics and stuff. So when the posts come out for that on the USC Instagram, please repost and share with your constituents. And yeah, that is it for me. Are there any questions? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Batista. I'll now invite Vice President Watchus Johnson to provide her report.
Hi. So my top 3 highlights were Frost Week, which I feel like everyone so far has mentioned, but Sarah did a really excellent job. There was a lot of programming, a lot of very different types of programming, which I think made it extra fun. And yeah, it was a good week, good welcome back. And then I also went to the Breaking Barriers conference at McMaster along with Emily. She did her professional development session, and then the day afterwards, I was able to sit on a panel. And I also will be planning something similar, but I'll get into that in a second. And yeah, just being at McMaster for the day, hanging out with MSU, which is their equivalent of the USC, as she said, was also a lot of fun. And then I know this one is a little nerdy, but I'm also having a lot of fun writing the current policy paper that I'm writing for USA. This year, the USC is on comprehensive access strategy, and I just think the topic is very, very interesting. So yeah, that's been a highlight of my month, honestly. In terms of updates, Mari already touched on this, but we've been crafting the USC position papers. We both brought a copy of the BIPOC and religious students recommendations to our standing committees, and then we're hoping to bring them to standing committee to actually come to council in the next couple months. And then we also have been doing our initial consultations for the sustainability paper, as well as the gender-based and sexual violence paper. Oh my God, I thought that was someone in this room. Hello. And then, so the next item is Women in House is turning into Breaking Barriers. So for those of you that are familiar with Women in House, it's a program that the USC has run in years past where it takes place in Toronto and we work with the provincial government for it, but it happens over Reading Week. And that's why it's so accessible for people to take time off school and go to Toronto. The issue is this year, our lovely provincial government has decided that they won't be coming back to session until March 3rd. And we're also very much anticipating an election will be called between now and March 3rd, if not on March 3rd. So it's really, really risky to plan something like this in Toronto right now. So we're going to do something similar to what Emily and I talked about happened at McMaster called Breaking Barriers. Applications for that, I'm going to start circulating them soon, and then the post will go out in the next week or two. But it's essentially aimed at getting young women into the political field, but also into fields that are kind of political adjacent. So I'm hoping to do some professional development sessions that are around government relations or public affairs, or like I said, just political adjacent fields. I think that that's something really interesting. Yes, I'm very, very excited. I've been having a lot of fun planning that, and it's going to happen on February 28th and March 1st. In terms of our provincial budget submission, so this is coming to council today, but we determined the recommendations that are going forward to the provincial government for their 2025 budget. And then in my upcoming, I also put building up the body text, because as soon as you guys pass the recommendations, I can start writing that. And then in terms of USA, I've been very, very busy with that as well. We're doing a collaborative statement with the Council of Ontario Universities. I've been authoring my paper, which I realized I put twice because it's a highlight, clearly. We also did our USA provincial budget submission. We've been working a lot on strengthening our delegate training. One of the really big things that we're focusing on this year is making sure that our delegates are well prepared to go to GA. So the training is going to be twice as long this spring. Get excited. But I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to make the conference itself way more beneficial. We've also been working on USC's strategic plan, which sets out the direction of the organization for the next 5 years. And then we finished running our biennial survey, which we do across all campuses every 2 years. In terms of upcoming USC position papers, I kind of touched on where we are with those during the update section. Planning breaking barriers, because like I said, it's in just over a month, so that's very scary, but we're getting a move on that. Advocacy Day, which Mari spoke on already, it's going to be February 11th, yes, in the atrium. It'll just be a boothing situation. Come by, say hi, that kind of thing. And then we're also, USA GA delegate prep will happen over the next month or so. That's very exciting for me. Finishing up my USA paper, and then finalizing and submitting the provincial budget submission, which again, all the projects I'm kind of right in the middle of, but that is all. If there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Watchus-Johnson. I'll now call up Vice President Fullerton.
Hi, everyone. So as mentioned before, my top 3 highlights are all part of Purple Frost. Apres-ski was something I was particularly happy with because for Purple Frost, I really tried to create the widest variety of activities. So during the day, like the week, there was a lot more of like low intensity, smaller scale events. And then on the weekend, we had Sway Lee, and then we had Apres-ski Darty, which I had to explain to a lot of full-time staff. It's a day party, which was really funny. And so that was awesome. That was with Delilah's. And I think we were able to reach a wider demographic with our programming in that way. So that was super fun. And the puppy yoga is there just because the puppies were so cute. I actually didn't do the puppy yoga, but I was able to go and visit them, and they were adorable. Some updates for the orientation part of my job. We're doing LST training for soft hiring. That's ongoing. That's going to be ongoing all semester. And then soft hiring is currently happening right now. We are having actually a training session tomorrow night to finish up some soft application grading and move into soft interview hiring. And then, Purple Frost, as I mentioned before, and upcoming. Purple Beats is something that we're doing this year. We used to do Purple Boots, as I'm sure many of you have heard before. We did do a country concert, but we just didn't brand it as Purple Boots. So I figured we should bring a little bit more of the purple branding back into the concert realm this year. So based on a lot of feedback that Shreya received via talking to students and collecting student feedback through forums and stuff like that, a lot of students wanted an EDM concert. So we're catering to that market and doing Alan Walker on February 5th. Hope you all can make it and get some tickets. That'll be awesome to see you all there. And then Grad Ball is something that I'm hoping to introduce this year. So Grad Ball essentially will just be a formal to celebrate all the graduating students, but it won't be limited to just the graduating students. I'm still figuring out all the details, hence the planning part, but it is something that I'm really looking forward to finishing off the year with. Purple Finale, that's our last concert of the year. I'm working on artist negotiations right now, hoping for something really awesome for you guys. Go Week planning has some ... next to it because that is still very much a question mark on if it's going to happen, what it might look like. The name of it is really just like from a conversation we had in the staff kitchen where our COO was like, what about Go Week instead of O Week? And it's like at the end of the year and it's a finale of programming. So I just thought it was a cool name. But I'm still looking at what that might mean. I don't know if it'll be an actual week at the end because with exams, like finals and everything toward the end, it might be a little tricky with participation. So figuring out what that's looking like, but definitely wanting to do some more intense programming toward the end of the year for you all. Orientation week planning, it just never ends. So I just had to put it up there. And then OCRU training. OCRU was a group that helped with orientation, a bunch of student leaders. That was created in the summertime and they were implemented fully this O Week, but we're really fleshing out more of their individual details. And then I'm customizing some training for them as well, so they can be the most prepared team possible going into OWEEK 2025. So that's it for me. Thanks, guys. Any questions? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Vice President Fullerton. Next, we'll invite up Vice President Clapper to give his report.
What's up, guys? I'll just jump right into it. Try to make this meeting a little shorter tonight. I know some of you have some very important stuff to do tomorrow, so get some time back in your night. Right into it. So we have a collaboration coming up with Morissette, few actually. So we've been working really closely with them, trying to get some more student programming in with the entrepreneurial stuff. Look out for the USC challenge. It was done last year. Me and Emily are going to bring that back, do it a little bit different. But it'll be a nice opportunity for students in that scene to kind of get involved and solve some real world problems for the school. The new clubs have been ratified. So that post was put out about a week ago. So all the decisions were made. A record number of applications this year, which shows a ton of dedication to clubs. I think we had over 100, which is 3 times more than last year, which is absolutely fantastic. But that club group will receive their training tomorrow. So they'll all be kind of ingrained into the system and learn how to use Western Link and all that good stuff. So very excited to meet them all. We had a successful food drive. So the food support services ran a Christmas drive, and we had some boxes spread around the campus. We had some nice advertisements, and we turned up with a lot of food. So that's always fantastic. The Linked Up, so that is the professional development gala for this year. It was supposed to be last year, but we've combined the two. So that's confirmed for March 19th. So I'm sure all of you will be seeing a lot of promotion for that. That's going to be kind of the USC's biggest professional development event of the year, where students will have the opportunity to kind of come into the Mustang Lounge in a formal setting and talk to a lot of professionals. Huge opportunity to talk to some incredible USC alumni, some members of the board of Western alumni, and some really, really awesome people from around Canada. I think anyone who is interested in having a job afterwards would be interested in coming to this. So I'll see you all there. Collab with SOGS coming up on February 6th. So I'm very excited for that. We'll be partnering with Social Science Student Council to kind of run a nice little event for grad students and next grad students. So anyone who's looking to ask questions about how to get a supervisor, how to email professors, which program should you be in, what's the right fit, come on out. There'll be free food and lots of opportunity to talk to experienced students. Grocery shuttle, going to continue this semester. So we're doing it for another 4 weeks. Then we'll reevaluate the usage. Then we'll probably do it for another 4 weeks, reevaluate the usage, so on and so forth. We've switched busing companies a little quicker, a little better, a little cheaper. I think everybody wins. So it'll continue to run on Tuesday nights, but we've moved the starting time to 5:30 just to account for classes, and that so people don't have to be out too late. And that was in accordance to some feedback that we got. So always good. Income tax clinic directors are being hired at the moment. So the USC always does an income tax clinic for the month of March. We're going to continue to do that. So all of the directors will be hired by January 31st, and then the volunteer applications will go out. So super excited for that. It's an opportunity for students to come in and sit down with some tax experts and student volunteers and get their taxes done for free. So always a great opportunity. And finally, we are going to be hosting a USC charity golf tournament that I'm super excited about to raise money for the early outreach program. So that'll be happening at the end of the month, so March 29th. Look out for some promotion for that as well. Whether you know how to golf or are just interested in coming to hang out with a lot of fun people, I suggest you buy some tickets, and it'll all go to a great cause, great prizes. And I'll see you all there. Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Oh yeah, one question. Yes.
Counselor, can you speak into a microphone, please?
That's okay.
The linked up programming,
Yep.
what date was that again?
March 19th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Wednesday, March 19th. Yes. Emily has a question, or she has an answer.
Just wanted to also say that the Brescia Preservation Alliance was ratified.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's done too. Congrats to them. Very hardworking. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Vice President Clapper. I'll now invite Vice President Menon up to provide her report.
Okay, I'll also take a page out of Daniel's book and speed through this.
Asked me about ideas for USC Voice articles. I wrote my first one this past, and it was about how we bring artists to campus, kind of like the inside scoop of how Sarah's job works. And that was our like most clicked on article. So I think there's an appetite of what goes on the inside. If anyone else has ideas for it, I'd love to hear it. Some updates. My really quick one, well, not really quick one, but the one that's been keeping me up with a lot has been revisions to the vice president student engagement role. So as you guys know, Emily's going to talk a little bit about this when she talks about the updates to bylaw 3. Yeah. But as you guys know, the student engagement role is new this year. It used to be vice president communications and public affairs. There's been a lot of sorting out whenever a new role gets introduced, the logistics of it, how it's going to be in practice. And yeah, after working with the full-time staff, working my executive team, we decided to move a little bit different in the direction that it was previously. So there was a few more traditional communications responsibilities in it, like liaising with news organizations, social media, that kind of stuff. Those ones will be shifting away from this position and moving more into full-time staff. And it'll be a little bit more centered around community engagement, outreach, kind of the more stuff that I do with students on like a ground level, I guess. So going to different faculty council meetings, meeting with students, and yeah, taking concerns back to the USC is primarily the goal of the BP student engagement role. And I'm really excited to see how it's going to play out next year. The other thing has been the mid-year State of the USC survey. Emily talked about that a little bit, but basically there's a survey that we put out in December, basically just asking students a little bit about how they find our programming, our advocacy, and just like a check-in throughout the middle of the year. And yeah, my team has been really busy trying to up the engagement on that. If you've noticed any stickers on your Spoke bagel bags asking you to take a survey, that was us. The other thing is the Indigenous Relations Coordinator. I have been really Emily and I have been really pushing to get this one off the ground. And essentially, this coordinator would sit under my portfolio next year or the student engagement portfolio. So I've been working with the Indigenous Student Center and the Indigenous Student Association to kind of design this role in collaboration so that the person in it would have a really fulfilling experience and kind of be able to be that bridge between Indigenous students and the USC, because we currently don't have anyone who fulfills that role right now. And yeah, it existed in the past, and before it was more of like an events-based position. And yeah, now it'll be much more about community building and outreach. So it has a house in the student engagement role. The other update is varsity games. We had the basketball one on Saturday against York. We won both games. That one was really, really fun. It was great to see some people coming out. And yeah, that was our last in court. Did I call it in court game? Courtside game. Because we have a few more coming up later. But in terms of upcoming, we have some fun affiliate collaborations going on. If you come out to our next varsity game, you'll see those two guys and this girl over here in their mascots racing down a track to see which one is the fastest. So Emily's super excited. She's been training. You do have to be over 5'10" to wear the goose suit properly. So that'll be really fun. That's the point. That's the point. So that'll be really fun. I've been working with their comms teams, kind of put some stuff together, so that'll be fun. So yeah, the final varsity games, we only have 2 left. So guys, please come out. They're super fun. We give out merch. It's a great like activity to do. So the last ones are going to be on January 31st, which is when the race is happening, and then February 9th, and they're both hockey games happening at Thompson Arena. And the third thing is Advocacy Day. These two already touched on it a little bit, but yeah, helping those 2 portfolios make advocacy a little bit more engaging to the general student body. Black History Month support. So me and Daniel have done a few meetings with the Office of EDI and the African Student Association, Black Student Association, just kind of to see where the USC can provide support for Black History initiatives that are already happening on campus, as well as see if there's any gaps that we can fill. And the other thing is something that my team is working on a little bit is doing some engagement around the Peer Support Center. We've noticed that the space is being utilized a lot. We want to get a little bit more data and a little bit more information on why people are going into that
service and if students are finding it fulfilling. So that's something that my team's been working really closely on. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Any questions? No? Cool.
Thank you, Vice President Menon. We are next going to move into our Board of Directors report. So I invite Ethan Berry up to provide the report.
Hello, everyone. I know that you guys have a long kind of meeting tonight, so I'll jump right into it. The Board of Directors met on December 6th, and I'm just going to kind of go through basically what we talked about at each of our subcommittee levels. So same thing as always, the Governance Committee, Human Resource Committee, and Finance Committee. So starting off with the Governance Committee, we reviewed and updated some of our risk register stuff. What that is, it's kind of a tracking system of ongoing risks to the organization. It tracks things like what the risk is potentially, what the probability of it is, and things like that. There's a couple of them that we went over, but the main one was really surrounding the potential for public funding to change in terms of student programming or student program funding, either diminished or cut or whatever. We've had for the past 14 years a government who's pretty, feels pretty strongly about in terms of funding education and things like that. There is a possibility that that changes this next year. So we just want to make sure that we're kind of monitoring that and making sure that we're not going to get blindsided by anything that changes there. And then for the Human Resource Committee, we went ahead and we allocated a bunch of our directors onto hiring panels for things like the CRO, the 3 hired VP positions, and then also our 4 additional incoming board of director members for next year. And I guess they're going to be 2027 now, a little bit old, but so I won't talk too much about the board of director and hiring, but we have done some interviews. Nothing's finalized yet, but in terms of the numbers of applicants, we had 69 applicants for 4 positions. So, the quality of candidate, the one thing I'd like to see is that the quantity of applicants is going up as well as the quality of them. So we are set in a pretty good position for the future, I would say. And then the other thing that we did at the HR level was some of that training that we require our incoming directors to do has changed. Previously, we didn't really require them to come to any of the subcommittee meetings or the board meetings in, the back end of what would be like my last term. Basically, the only things that they had to do was this winter retreat and our summer conference. So what we've done now is make sure that they have to come to our subcommittee meetings in March, as well as the board meeting that happens in April. Going back to Emily's point, kind of just making sure that the transition period at our level is going smoothly just as well as it goes at their level. So yeah, just increasing the amount of time that they have to be forced into shadowing us essentially. And then at the finance committee level, I talked to you guys a bit before about the new strategy that we're trying to implement in terms of looking and using our cash more effectively, having a more long-term focus. So one of the things that we talked about was establishing these tranches where they essentially have different purposes or time horizons for use, and there's different investment vehicles within those. But we did have a meeting with our financial advisors at TD Investments. That just happened like a couple of weeks ago in January, so I haven't had the opportunity to actually discuss that at the board level. That will happen very soon, and then I will have a lot more information on that. I will have for you on, I think it's February 12th is the next one that I have to come to. I think so. Yeah, so on February 12th, I'll have kind of a more fleshed out version of what that strategy actually is and some of the numbers and the quant that goes into that. So get excited for that. But other than that, the USC has, looking back in this past semester, we've maintained a very healthy financial position. A lot of those GICs have, which is like a very stable investment instrument. Those have all matured, so we're in a pretty good position liquidity wise as well. Yeah, that's all from me. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I think we're good. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to take a short recess. We'll be resuming the meeting promptly at 8:05.
Other than my mom.
I know, right? And I don't know.
It's gonna be a fun one. I mean, I already.
Yeah, I should.
So,
The other one? Yeah.
Something about
The other one, it's
we all decided together on Wednesday, so that's being.
but that could be.
Oh my god.
So I was gonna ask you today, what email do I send? Nope. Yes.
Oh, Friday. I see how it is. I like that.
January. Okay. Let me like this one. I will forward it to you. What's the best email? Yeah, I'm forwarding you all the information. I'm happy I was gonna chase you after the meeting is done, but it's better. But yeah, it's just on the 30th. It's just not about. I mean, I think it's gonna be good if you can study up anything that you find. I know we're This is I don't know which person. So this is good. Yeah, next week new business section. I'm gonna put it right now.
Yeah, no, I feel like he just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Hi, I really do feel for you there. Because I know what you guys did. You're really, anyways, yeah.
Oh yeah. So.
I'll be. We have someone running for president next week. No counselor. Whatever. It is whatever. Okay. I'm very happy that that worked out.
Yeah. I was walking. No. No. Like art. It's yeah. Like there's glass. Yeah, and then we. I missed the fun. Yeah. Yeah, no, no, I missed the halfway, like as soon as I missed I mean, well, like he said that was gonna be it. Thank you for going by. I also forgot that I was on it. You went to get a file.
Okay, like you've never done that.
I saw you. Yeah, you were like, oh, bro. Vishnu, what's up?
First?
You did. I was like, are you high? How high are you?
Bright purple.
I know. And it was so yeah, I was so good.
I know.
Wait, what? It ended out. If I had to go, I had to run home to get my
And so like you like
yeah, you to actually enter. Get my I know. Well, most of it
It's 8:05. If everyone could please head back to their seats. All right, we're now going to be moving into our for action section of the meeting, and we're going to start with the election of the USA Spring Assembly delegates. So the motion reads, whereas the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance is a student-led organization and advocates on student-directed policy recommendations, whereas its policy papers are approved by student delegates at general assemblies following review and discussion, be it resolved that council elect 9 delegates to represent Western at the USA Spring General Assembly 2025 in March. So our mover is President Collegian. Can I get a seconder? Councillor John? And would the mover or seconder like to speak on the motion?
Just really briefly, because the second time is the charm, but I will pass it to Michelle to do that.
Yeah, so hopefully you know most of what I'm about to say, but so USA General Assemblies, or GA as I always will call it, are where 65 students from the 9 different schools come together, and then they provide feedback on the policy papers that we're writing that semester, and eventually ratify them at the end. So this time the policy papers are a comprehensive access strategy, which is about accessing post-secondary. So the barriers that students face in before they hit first year kind of thing. And then also a tech-enabled learning strategy as well. So just things you maybe want to look for are people who have experiences with either these topics in particular and can contribute based on their lived experiences, or maybe people who have some experience with policy writing, or just those who you believe to be good advocates for the student voice. Good luck to all the candidates. You're going to do so great. And they'll find out tomorrow. Yeah, if I find out tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm now going to call on our EGC delegate to review the voting instructions with council.
Hi, everyone. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to deliver their speech, and after all speeches, eligible counselors will be allowed to vote, and there are 9 available positions. Counselors will receive a Simply Voting link sent to their UWO email address, not the USC emails. They should follow the instructions provided in the link, and voting will close or will remain open until 12 a.m. tonight. No proxy votes are allowed, and all candidates will be notified of the election outcome via email within 24 hours. Any appeals can be submitted directly to the CRO. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll be operating the timer for the 2 minutes. When you have 30 seconds left, I'll just raise my hand so you can see it, and then I'll lower it when your time is done, and then just wrap up the sentence where you are there. And just to reiterate, if you are a proxy voter today, you will not be able to vote for the person who you are proxying for. You can only vote for yourself for this. So I'll call up our first candidate. We're going to be going alphabetically by last name, so we'll begin with Nathan.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Nathan Ayala, currently one of the external affairs coordinators, working with Michelle and Mathangi, who are both here today. I have always been passionate about creating an accessible, equitable, and inclusive university experience for students at Western and across our province. And recently I had the privilege of being a delegate at the last USA General Assembly, where I actively sought ways in which students can effectively advocate change that the provincial government can realize. What I was most proud of was voicing the concerns of students in programs like mine, who have additional costs currently not considered by OSAP when calculating student grants. It was amazing to see this be included in the student financial aid paper, in the student financial aid paper, which will now be an advocacy point of USA. As a first generation university student, I have also seen firsthand how access barriers affect many. And I also believe that conversations about flexible pathways to university and better support programs are necessary, which will be key themes in the upcoming General Assembly when we cover the comprehensive access strategy that is up for review. Really appreciate everybody for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nathan. I will now call on Manuela to give her speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Manuela Garzon. I come from Bogota, Colombia. I grew up there. All of my family there is there, all of my friends are there. And I have had the wonderful opportunity to attend university at Huron and here at Western. I'm very thankful for my educational opportunity, and this is something that I have always been passionate about. I believe education is a privilege, and being able to stand here in front of you all today is a privilege to me. The reason as to why I want to be an USA delegate is because the first time I got involved with the USC was in my first year as a women in house delegate, I guess, and it was a great experience. Ever since that moment, I have been trying to get involved with the USC through different ways, being a faculty staff for the past 3 years, which was being the main one. I believe that USA has a wonderful capability to help students. I was a delegate in the spring 2022 General Assembly, and then the spring 2023 General Assembly. So this being my 4th year and in my program, Global Development and Governance, Leadership and Ethics, I see the values reflected of USA every single day. I also believe that my experience as a transformation analyst at Community Foundations of Canada has put me into a path, where technology is part of my day-to-day work. I work with emerging technologies, decentralized autonomous organizations, Web3 technologies. And I believe that for this paper specifically, one of them, besides the comprehensive access strategy paper, my knowledge would be really good to contribute to. So thank you so much. And yeah.
Thank you, Manuela. I'll now call on Aisha to present her speech.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aisha. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I originally grew up in Toronto and moved to London about 5-ish years ago. Now, despite my being somewhat of a native Londoner and having gone to high school here, my transition to Western wasn't exactly seamless. It was admittedly quite difficult adjusting to the new, much more fast-paced environment. However, now that I've kind of settled in and found my footing, I have only the incredible community to thank. These past 2 years, I have found a support system like no other who has given me guidance and reassurance every step of the way. It is this very support system and this very community that I would be privileged to represent at the USA General Assembly. As for why I think I would be the right person for this, I believe it comes down to the fact that I'm not interested in policy just for the sake of policy, rather because I'm interested in policies that are grounded in lived student experiences. The conversations I've had with my friends, my peers, my team members, they've all showed that while our challenges and needs may be unique, the goal is consistent, an improved student experience. Whether it's navigating academic pressures or accessing the right resources, the issues are real and the solutions should be too. In my experience as a former student trustee for Thames Valley District School Board, one of the most valuable lessons I learned is that representation of any kind is not about the person doing the representing, but rather the body that is being represented. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that leadership is about the individual, but I believe that true representation requires humility. It's about ensuring that the voices of those you represent are not only heard, but also respected and reflected in every decision you make. As a delegate at USA, I would approach this responsibility with that exact same mindset. Lastly, I would just like to recognize that representing a student body is not something to be taken lightly, and it is a responsibility that demands accountability, transparency, and diligence, all characteristics I hope to embody at the delegation. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Next, we'll call on Jenna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jenna, for those who don't know me, and I'm really excited to run to be a USC delegate for the upcoming USA General Assembly. As a previous USA delegate last year, in which I collaboratively reviewed 3 culturally sensitive policy papers, and as someone who has dedicated a lot of time to advocating for students at Western and policy writing as a 2-time undergraduate senator, USC counselor, and also an undergraduate representative on the Senate Committee of Academic Policy, I've seen firsthand how important it is to fight for equitable access to post-secondary education and address the evolving needs of students with the rapidly evolving technology. The first policy paper, Comprehensive Access Strategy, resonates with me because of my international experience growing up in Saudi Arabia for 14 years, and also as a senior international peer guide with Western International. I've learned a lot about the unique barriers that come with navigating an unfamiliar education system, and also the transition of students coming from abroad to university in Canada. Through my own advocacy efforts, I continuously address inequities by advocating for international students and underrepresented groups to ensure that systematic barriers do not deter to education. These experiences have fueled my passion for shaping policies that create flexible pathways, improve outreach programs, and ensure every willing and qualified student can access higher education in Ontario. For the second policy paper, Technology-Enabled Learning, this aligns closely with my advocacy leadership experiences and a genuine interest in generative AI education to complement and advance our learning. As VP Academics for the Western Biochemistry Club, I initiated and executed the first software workshop to teach students relevant and essential tools for modern biochemistry research. And overall, I'm very excited for the possibility to collaboratively influence policies that create meaningful and lasting change for students in post-secondary education across Ontario. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Jenna. Next, I'll call on Sophie.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sophie, and I'm currently a 4th-year business and psychology student I've actually had the privilege of attending 2 GAs in the past, which I had an absolute blast in, but I'm particularly excited for this upcoming spring GA just because of how important these topics are to me. So here at Western, I wear a few different hats. I'm involved as a resident staff. I'm a coordinator on the USC, and I've also had a bit of faculty council experience. But one key experience that I want to share that I think really relates to the comprehensive access strategy paper is actually my time volunteering with USC's early outreach conference program. I think it was really, really cool and powerful to see how impacted these elementary school students were, especially given that they often come from low income backgrounds and are underrepresented, and just seeing a smile on their face after knowing there's a group of leaders who believe in them and want them to succeed. And I think this exact same mindset needs to be applied in all schools, having outreach programs to make sure that we're investing in young students early on so that the barriers that they face in a unique way can be mitigated, and they can hopefully access post-secondary education in an equitable way. Moving on to the technology-enabled learning paper, I'm someone that loves tech and I think it's really important for learning, but I also know the different barriers and inequities that can be perpetuated because of mandating technology in classroom learning. And so I think it's really important that we're consistently advocating for students to be able to access different devices that they need. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'm really passionate about both of these topics.
Thank you, Sophie. Next, we're going to hear from Koi via video. Hopefully it works.
Cool. Hey everyone, my name is Koi. I'm a third-year student in economics and psychology, and I'm really excited to be running to be one of your representatives at the upcoming USA General Assembly. My journey at USA started last summer when I was their research intern, and in that role I researched on a range of different student topics, ranging from student comprehensive access to higher education to environmental sustainability. And I think I really enjoyed that whole process. Of learning about different student issues and coming up with solutions. Hey everyone, my name is Koi. I'm a third year student in economics and psychology, and I'm really excited to be running to be one of your representatives at the upcoming USA General Assembly. My journey at USA started last summer when I was their research intern, and in that role I researched on a range of different student topics, ranging from student comprehensive access to higher education to environmental sustainability. And I think I really enjoyed that whole process of learning about different student issues and coming up with solutions. And aside from that, I also get to meet with many different student leaders, some of which are at our USC. That includes Emily, it includes Michelle, Kat, Matangi, and I felt like although everyone comes from a different background, we all just share that passion to make higher education as accessible as possible for everyone. And I think meeting those people are the motivation for me to keep going on this advocacy journey, because it's really inspiring. And my goal at this coming General Assembly is very similar. I really want to contribute my knowledge and my experience, especially my experience as an international student from Vietnam. I think I will have many useful insights, and I'm really excited to meet other student advocates as well and have a great time. So I hope to have your support. Vote for Khoi.
I think that works. All right. So hey everyone, my name's Ryan, if we haven't met already. And truly being up here, I'm super passionate about student advocacy, which is why I'm excited to be considered for USA. Advocacy has truly been a central part of my leadership journey, and that really started with my role back in Manitoba, being part of the Minister of Education Student Advisory Council. And in that role, I represented K through 12 students and contributed to policy discussions that really shaped education at a provincial level. This experience ultimately ignited my passion, which led to my role last year as a first-year rep on SSSC, and now as a counselor with all of you guys. So I really want to bring this experience to USA to contribute to policies that will shape the future of post-secondary education and to many students across Ontario. By being part of USA's GA this March, I really hope to contribute to tangible efforts that will ensure that student voices from Western and beyond are heard at the provincial level. My experiences, I know, also closely align with USA's policy priorities. Regarding the comprehensive access to strategy, I've been able to advocate for equitable access to education and addressing barriers like guidance in secondary schools and diverse pathways to secondary opportunities in that previous role with my minister's Student Advisory Council. As a Don as well in housing, I've also supported students from various backgrounds and seen firsthand challenges that many face in accessing higher education. So I really want to help out with that and make sure that people have equal access to that. With tech-enabled learning, I understand the potential that tech also has to transform education, and I think that we should be implementing resources and training for both students and educators to make sure that no one gets left behind. My goal is to ensure that with these policy papers, we are really lobbying to our governments that they take a proactive and balanced approach to these advancements. Overall, I know that my confidence, my experience, passion, and commitment to advocacy make me well-equipped to represent Western and contribute meaningfully to USA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Next, we're going to hear from Angeli over on our video.
Good evening, council members. My name is Angeli Mukishimana, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to represent Western at the upcoming USA conference. I must say it is such a privilege to be standing in front of all of you today on video, sharing my passion for advocacy and policy making, and hoping to bring that same excitement to USA. My time at Western has been defined by my active role in bettering the community for those around me. From serving as a staff, where I've been able to help first years navigate university life, as well as been able to connect with students from diverse backgrounds all across Ontario and really understand the challenges that they face, to working with Western Blue, where I've really been put at the forefront of connection and education as well as community. While my leadership roles have not been directly related to the USC, I do feel that they give me a unique perspective that I'm eager to bring to this position. I'm currently a third-year genetics and medical science student, and as a student who has experienced the direct impacts of the policies being addressed at this year's conference, I am inspired by how much they mattered and how they align with issues I deeply care about. Additionally, my internship that I have been doing at a nonprofit organization in London has further, I believe, solidified my passion for policymaking, and while challenging, has been an incredibly rewarding experience that has motivated me to stand here before you today. Regarding the topics at this conference, such as tech-enabled learning and comprehensive access strategy, I am particularly passionate about the accessibility aspect. The lack of support in place for students to be able to afford tech like computers and iPads puts many at a disadvantage, and I do believe that education should be accessible to all, and I'm committed to advocating for policies that reflect that. This is more than just a position to me. It's a responsibility to shape the kind of university experience I believe we all want to see, and I'm excited and ready to take the responsibility with enthusiasm, determination, and an open mind. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anjali. Next, we're going to hear from Shivoham.
Good evening, USC. Please forgive me for not being able to make it there personally tonight, but I hope you're all enjoying the lovely weather we're having here in London. My name is Shivoham Nar, and I'm grateful to be before you all and seek your support once again as a candidate for Western's USA delegation. Through your support, I was able to participate previously at USA's Fall General Assembly in October, where alongside my peers, I analyzed policies and championed student perspective. I hope to once again use USA as a platform to advocate on behalf of Western students and improve higher education across Ontario. As a law and undergraduate student pursuing an HBA and JD dual degree, I studied political science and history, business, and I'm now studying law. So when it comes to representing Western students, I can speak to the various experiences of students across faculties firsthand, bringing a unique academic perspective to this team. I'm committed to advocating on the key areas of this delegation, which include a comprehensive access strategy and technology-enabled learning. A comprehensive access strategy means ensuring there is equitable access to post-secondary education through enhanced financial support and targeted initiatives. It means advocating for increased guidance and resources and helping students from diverse backgrounds better prepare for higher education. I also recognize the potential of technology in advancing educational equity. During my time with the UN Association in Canada, I contributed to the Digital Equity Program, which aimed to ensure inclusive access to technology for youth across the country, which highlights the critical role digital tools play in breaking down barriers for students during this modern age. Additionally, I hope to use my experience in authoring and presenting policy papers to municipal governments and federal officials to better represent students and provide the necessary recommendations to USA. As an active member of the Western community, I'm certain that I can effectively advocate on behalf of Western students and have the competencies needed to discuss the topics of this assembly. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you to Shivoham. Next up, we are going to hear from Maria.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Prisis, and I'm really excited to be here as a candidate to represent Western at the USA General Assembly. USA is something I've wanted to get involved in for a while now, and the topics being discussed at this spring's assembly are specifically of special interest to me, those being technology-enabled learning and a comprehensive access strategy. So my passion for advocating and accessible and equitable education comes from personal experience. I grew up with a lot of really talented, driven students who never got to go to post-secondary due to things like financial constraints, lack of resources, or simply just because they didn't feel like post-secondary was an option for them. And witnessing this was a major driving force behind my desire to work towards breaking down those barriers for others. In high school, I also faced my own challenges, mainly due to a lack of guidance and support. Nobody in my family's attended university, and my high school had no competent guidance counselors. I actually wanted to pursue STEM, but I was told that I wouldn't succeed in it because I was bad at math. So while I ended up focusing on social science, and now I love social science as it's discovered my passion for policy and advocacy, it made me realize how many students are forced to make decisions without proper guidance, which could hold them back from exploring all their options. At Western, I've had the privilege of working on Grants and Recognitions Committee, where we've read hundreds of applications for need-based awards, and the stories shared by students about the barriers they faced, whether due to financial constraints, ethnicity, or ability, gave me a broader perspective on the systemic issues affecting access to post-secondary education. These experiences drive my belief that every student deserves the resources and support they need to thrive. As a fourth year, I've seen firsthand how COVID and shifting to online technology can affect both students and instructors, and how technological support and preparation is really important. As a counselor, I believe I have the ability to make sure all voices are represented, and I think that is an important trait at the USA conference. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maria. Next, we're going to hear from Yashvi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yashvi. A lot of you know me through social science because I'm the VP Advo there, which is equivalent to Mari's role and Ridley's role, but for social science. And I'm also social science LST. So I'm eager to attend the upcoming USA General Assembly because I'm really passionate about the two papers that are going to be addressed. And I have a few experiences that are really adjacent to the topics that are going to be addressed. I also have experience in editing policy papers and policy briefs for social science. And I have a background in collecting and analyzing feedback surveys from social science students. And as a result, I believe I would be able to represent the needs of the students, the Western students well. In my role as VP Advo, I've been able to work to mitigate any sort of barriers to access, and I've been able to dedicate my advocacy towards marginalized groups. I have made tuition breakdown, an initiative that Shreya started, more centralized this year, making it more accessible, and I've been able to address academic needs by creating more study spaces during midterms, which also addresses that issue with infrastructure that we have at Western. I've also promoted accessibility by making academic consideration resources more accessible to students. So these experiences have really refined my ability to navigate complex discussions and collaborate on meaningful solutions. And attending the General Assembly will allow me to bring back valuable feedback and experiences to enhance the policy work within the Western community. Moreover, by contributing to the refinement of the policy papers, I would really hope to make and support students across Ontario.
Thank you, Yashvi. Next, we'll hear from Rachel.
Good evening, USC Council. My name is Rachel Pizzonia. I'm a fifth-year health science and Ivy dual degree student, and I would be honored to be selected as an USA delegate. USC, I live and breathe advocacy. Throughout my time at university, I have advocated for the needs of students in various capacity, whether that be for my 4 years of the Faculty of Health Sciences, acting as VP of Student Affairs, advocating for Free the Dot academics considerations, whether it be serving as the charity director of the Ivy Connects program through my 2 years of the Ivy HBA program, and leading internships for the first year Ivy students, or this year as Wellness Equity Coordinator under Team UA. I hope to I continuously push for mental health, wellness equity, and advocacy, such as this year's Mental Health Day, which saw over 1,000 students in attendance, sparking conversations on campus with regards to mental health, which is very fitting considering today is Bell Let's Talk Day. I've seen the power that students' voices have to drive real change on campus. In alignment with the mission of USC, I wholeheartedly believe that students have the power to change the world, and I advocate fearlessly by following my heart. One issue I'm passionate about is making post-secondary education accessible to everyone. Many face barriers such as financial issues, accessibility challenges, and the lack of support. Growing up with a mother who works as a high school guidance counselor in one of Toronto's poorest areas, I have seen students' challenges firsthand in accessing care and accessing support from their guidance counselors. She works hard to support over 1,000 high school students, showing the impact of dedicated advocacy, yet there's limited support. If chosen to represent USA, I will ensure our paper is well-researched, includes diverse perspectives, and strongly advocates for equal access to post-secondaries across Ontario. Together, we can drive meaningful change, break down barriers, and build a more inclusive landscape provincially. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel. Next, we'll hear from Ricardo.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Ricardo. All of you can call me Rick. It's a pleasure to see all your guys' faces again, and even bigger pleasure to stand before you here to speak about USA. I wish to be a USA delegate as my experience of political science brings me an intimate understanding of the importance and privilege that this delegation brings. Canada enters into politically transitional time with many legislative changes dictating vast societal changes of our day-to-day lives. And this, to me, is why being a representative of USA is important, as now more than ever, our student voices and needs necessary to be brought onto the center stage. I've participated in delegation bodies since 6th grade in the United Nations programs of the General Assembly within New York itself, and since this point onwards, bureaucracy and its processes have been well understood to me. I've conducted field researches within the Horn of Africa, interviewing with top diplomats for leading NGOs advocating for developmental rights, and have had multiple years of experience drafting policy recommendations, analysis, and support as a research assistant for over 4 professors within King's and Western University. Since first year until last year, I've worked with a variety of topics, specializing on the supporting and empowerment of marginalized people through the politics of informality. While neither of these directly correlate with the policy papers regarding comprehensive access strategies and tech-enabled learning, my base understanding of policy analysis, recommendation drafts, and discourse would bear merit amongst our fellow student leaders. Additionally, I hold a year's worth of experience within over 5 boards and committees where academic learning strategies are made within King's, such as our own board of directors. This provides to me contemporary knowledge on current university accessibility and tech-enabling learning practices and what is currently missing, a unique experience that would ensure helpful collaborative data for finalizing the papers in question. These factors, alongside my sitting in over 17 committees within Western Kings and the City of London, leave me in a position to not only feel prepared, but excited to join in and participate in USA. Education is a privilege, and all of us here are people that hold that. And it is the responsibility of those in a position of privilege to make it more accessible for others. And with that, I hold you that consideration. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rick. Next, we'll hear from Stefan.
Good evening, counselors. My name is Stefan Tatizian. I'm a third-year political science student, and I'm deeply committed to USA's vision for accessible, affordable, and accountable, high-quality post-secondary education. Leadership to me is about amplifying voices, addressing systematic barriers, and ensuring every student can thrive, regardless of their circumstances. This past semester, I worked as a programming assistant for the off-campus soft team, supporting first-year students navigating university life. A perspective-shifting moment came during the final night of orientation week, as the drone show lit up the sky with the words, "Students have the power to change the world." I saw first-year students' eyes light up with this belief, but the truth is that not everyone has the same opportunity to feel that way. Systemic barriers, financial, social, and institutional, prevent many from reaching their full potential. This solidified my commitment to equity, a vision that's reflected in USA's comprehensive access strategy. As a new student experience leader, I served as a point of contact for students entering university, addressing concerns about adapting to university life. I connected them to funding opportunities and resources, further strengthening my commitment to equitable access and giving me an understanding of students' concerns when coming into university. My research with NGOs like the Armenian Legal Defense Front and the Lemkin Institute of Genocidal Prevention have taught me to analyze systemic inequities and advocate for structural change. Skills I will bring to USA to hold institutions accountable to student needs. This semester, my Politics of AI course deepened my understanding of how technology revolutionizes education, offering potential while also posing challenges in accessibility and equity. USA's tech-enabled learning policy brief aligns with my passion for ensuring equitable digital access. As an USA delegate, I will advocate for resources, equitable education, and comprehensive support for marginalized communities with empathy, evidence-based solutions, and a commitment to equity. I hope you trust me to advocate to make what seems impossible possible for students at Western and across all of Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. We'll now hear from George.
Hello, everyone. My name is George Ryan-Tawakis, and I'm excited to share why I believe I'm the right choice to be selected as a delegate for the upcoming USA General Assembly. As someone deeply committed to advocating for equitable and accessible post-secondary education, I've made it my mission to amplify student voices and drive meaningful change. In my role as president of the Faculty Council, I've gained firsthand experience seeing the challenges students face, like affordability, equitable access to resources, and support systems. Leading a team of over 60 members and liaising with program associations across the faculty has honed my leadership, communication, and problem-solving skills. I've also worked to ensure traditionally underrepresented groups on campus, like nursing students and those transitioning from Brescia to the new School of Food and Nutritional Science, have a platform to voice their concerns and achieve equitable representation. Beyond leadership, I've helped first-year students, the faculty staff, and a residence captain, fostering supportive environments and advocating for smoother transitions to university life. Outside of my leadership roles, my research involving bridging programs has also deepened my understanding of systemic barriers in education, particularly for mature students and returning students, reinforcing my commitment to equitable pathways for all. If selected as the USA delegate, I'll bring this passion and experience to advocate for policy solutions that address systemic inequities, enhance tech-enabled learning, and create inclusive opportunities for every student. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And we'll now hear from Jane.
Hi, everyone. My journey as a USC counselor and my work as secretary in the EA portfolio has driven my passion for advocacy through the EA lens and has inspired me to expand my advocacy and involvement. My background in nursing and my involvement in EDID initiatives have taught me about the various barriers that disproportionately affect marginalized groups. I'm excited about the opportunity to shape policy in access strategy and technology-enabled learning. In high school, I led the transition from in-person training to online training for my cadet squadron. What started off as an experimental design was later used as an official model for squadrons and corps across Ontario. The recommendations I created during this time address equitability challenges, including accommodating individuals with learning disabilities, ADHD, financial constraints, generational knowledge gaps, and mental health challenges. This experience taught me to think creatively as it relates to technology learning to create equitable and accessible training, activities, events, and extracurriculars. I later went on to be a summer training staff and staff cadet and did the same thing for youth across Canada. In high school, I also advocated for post-secondary education to make both information and post-secondary education seem accessible. I hope that being an USA delegate will further my understanding of the advocacy process and build on skills such as collaboration, thinking, and communication. I'm committed to ensuring that policies are inclusive, evidence-based, and address the needs of underrepresented people. I also want to learn from others with more experience or different perspectives to broaden my understanding of student challenges and learn new approaches to advocacy. Last semester, when listening to other students give their speeches, I was so touched and inspired to hear about their experiences and passion that it motivated me to also do more as a student leader and hopefully have the honor of stepping into this role one day. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Jane. Let's give one last round of applause to everyone who just gave a speech. Okay, counselors can now proceed to the Simply voting link. You should have gotten that around 7 o'clock. We're just going to take a few minutes now to quietly cast our votes. I'm going to keep everyone's photos and names on the screen so you can refer back to it. A point of clarification, if you were running in the election, you did not get a voting link. Okay, based on the talking, I'm gonna assume that everyone's voted. If you haven't, yes, Emily?
Just a point of personal privilege, just a question I wanted to raise. Isn't it supposed to be a ranked ballot? Just wanted to just clarify. Because right now it's just select 9. So I'm assuming if you voted, you're going to have to vote again. Yes. Okay, yeah, so that link, don't use it.
Okay, Dane will sort this out tomorrow. You guys will receive a new voting link. We'll communicate everything via email and Slack. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so this doesn't change anything for our actual motion. We're still going to vote on the motion. So essentially what this motion is saying is that whoever wins in the simply voting ballot will be ratified as the USA delegates. So this is the same thing that we would have been doing even if the ballot was correct. So are there any questions regarding the motion? Any points of debate? Do we have, yes, Counselor. Can you speak in the mic? Thank you.
Sorry, such a minor question, but for candidates that are also representatives, do we just not have a vote because of conflict of interest?
That's correct, yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yep. Any other questions regarding the motion? Are there any objections to the motion? Okay, so now we're gonna go to Echo 360 to vote. Okay, the motion passes. Please, everyone, look out on your emails and Slack tomorrow while we figure out the new voting that will go out hopefully very soon tomorrow morning. We are now going to have a quick recess. We'll resume in 5 minutes. So at 8:56, candidates, you are free to go if you're sitting in the gallery. Thank you very much for putting your name forwards. And again, we'll resume at 8:56.
I know my Sure.
Like a high school thing or all high school? High school warrior. Yeah. If you're at university, you're COVID. You're fine. I only had them for 2 years. So I was lucky. My mom had them for 2 years. I literally dropped it today's elastic. Like, no.
Gonna do work today?
Well, we'll make it work. Oh, well.
Wait, but like,
Yeah.
I only had 2 today.
He speaks so highly of you.
Is that bad?
Yeah. He loves the team.
Wait, I got some.
So, Nika's
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Wait, let's do that. Okay.
So I said this. But a colleague of mine told me today that you hiring slash learning to have like pretty impressed conflict with hierarchy class about told very well my friend, and then he said, "Hey, Stefan, thanks for the heads up on during the phrase." Nika's boss is friend with the partner of the partner of the person. Nika's boss is Stefan. H. No, partner. Yeah. No. No, that's recommendation. It's not even high.
I got you. Like, would you go, like, what's your natural hair? Have you ever straightened your hair like a bob?
It was nice to meet
Like, I'm saying, not this. I'm saying, like, no, wait, apple. No, not this either. I don't know.
Council will be resuming in 1 minute. Okay, as soon as everyone is back in their seats, we're going to start again. Okay, so our second motion for today is the motion to elect a counselor to our speaker and deputy speaker hiring panel. So the motion reads, whereas the hiring process for the speaker and deputy speaker requires 2 counselors to sit on the panel, and whereas the interview process will take place in person from February 24 to February 28, 2025, be it resolved that we elect 2 counselors to sit on the speaker and deputy speaker hiring panel. So we have our mover, President Collegian. Can I get a seconder, please? Counselor Sharma, thank you. Is there anything that yes, go ahead.
I would just like to make an amendment if possible. So right now we just need to add the phrasing, just to motion to amend the motion to include the phrase, "A successful candidate elected to the hiring committee cannot apply to become the speaker." Obviously the reason for this is that if you're applying to be speaker, then that only leaves one counselor and you can't interview yourself. So yeah, pretty obvious rationale, but wanted to explain.
Okay, can I get a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Malabanan. Okay, all of those in favor. Are there any questions about this amendment to the motion? Any points of debate about it? Any objections? Okay, now we're gonna vote. All those in favor, please raise your placard. Is anyone opposed? Would anyone like to abstain? Okay, so we're moving forward with the motion as amended by President Collegian. Okay, so now we're gonna do the election. So how this one is gonna work, anyone who would like to nominate themselves will be able to raise their placard. Candidates will then have 2 minutes to speak on why they would like to fill the role. Again, we'll do the same thing as before. I'll hold up my hand when you have 30 seconds left, and then I'll lower it once you hit 2 minutes, and then just wrap up your sentence. So any counselors who would like to nominate themselves for this position, please raise your placard now. Please raise your placard fully. Okay, we are going to go alphabetically, so we will start with Councillor Gleed.
You want us to just do our speeches from our chairs or come up to the front?
You can come up.
Okay.
Unless you want to sit down.
I'm tired, folks. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Margaret Gleed. I'm the current president for the Arts and Humanities Student Council. I would like to be a part of the hiring committee for speaker and deputy speaker. As a 2-term president, I've hired 2 speakers for my own council. And so I have a fair idea as to what it takes to actually be able to command a room full of a lot of personalities such as USC and to be able to have the process in mind to actually formalize how a council meeting runs. I think it's very important to have people that have prior experience in hiring speakers on a panel specific to hire speakers. And so to look for the smaller qualities of a candidate that may not lie in their direct experience, but could lie in how they carry themselves in front of a hiring panel. And so I think I would be a good person to sit on the hiring committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, we'll go to Councillor Sharma.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gayatri Sharma. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Huron's USC rep on the USC Council. I want to run for this role because I have currently I'm on the hiring committee for the Purple Care Trustee. So I do understand the policies and procedures of how USC and Western as a whole do their hiring. And so I think I have a outlook on how to help with the procedure and experience with that. And I also believe as a Huron student and affiliate student, I will be providing a diverse outlook into this hiring panel. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, come on up.
Hello again. So I'm excited to be putting my name forward as the counselor position on the speaker and deputy speaker hiring panel. Once again, as the president of the Faculty Health Sciences Student Council, I've been actively involved in governance and hiring process for the past 2 years. More specifically, I've worked closely with my VP internal to support our speaker in facilitating efficient and equitable council meetings, using my strong understanding of Robert's Rules of Order to ensure meetings are structured and productive. This collaboration has given me valuable insights into the qualities needed for an effective council leadership and governance. Beyond my efficacy responsibility, I recently had the privilege of being selected to sit on the board of directors hiring panel. There, I gained additional experience evaluating candidates through a governance lens. These opportunities strengthen my ability to assess candidates thoughtfully while objectively maintaining fairness and transparency throughout the process. So serving on this hiring panel would allow me to bring my proven track record in governance and collaboration to the USC. I committed to identifying leaders who embody the USC's values and missions and ensuring the selection process reflects our shared commitment to inclusivity and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our candidates. So Dane is now going to send a Google form into the Slack. Please proceed to that. And it's also going to be on the agenda, so you can open it on there. Proceed there to vote, please. And candidates should not vote for this. And proxies can vote for this one. How did she know that? We're just going to give another 30 seconds. We're still waiting on a few more people to please vote. Well, it has to be after 12. I don't like it. Okay, we need to tabulate. We're going to take a 3-minute recess. See you at 9:10.
That's like. It make you feel like shit. Exactly. You found a loophole. That's insane. That's so smart. So smart. Does the
Okay, well, if you want, if I'm getting ready. I just need here. No, have it.
3 o'clock?
You said it doesn't.
Okay.
Go instead. It's just like
I'll check tomorrow.
We can't. It's not invited.
There's no.
I don't think so. So you're welcome to council. I'll invite you.
I'll double check.
Yeah. Either you or one doesn't.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we have our election results certified from Dane. So the two counselors who will be sitting on this committee will be Margaret and George. Let's give a round of applause. So now we're going to return to the original motion, which is to ratify this election that we just did. Are there any questions regarding the motion? Are there any points of debate? Do we have any objections? Okay, let's proceed to Echo 360 to vote. Okay, thank you everyone for voting. We're going to move on to our next motion, which is our motion to elect a counselor to the club's governance board hiring committee. So this motion reads, whereas the club's governance board hiring process requires a counselor to sit on the committee, and whereas the hiring process includes interview review, February 4th to 9th, 2025, and a selection meeting, February 10th to 14th, 2025, be it resolved that council elect one counselor to sit on the club's governance board hiring committee. So this is going to be the same process as last time. First, we'll get a seconder for this motion. Counselor Chai, thank you. And now anyone who would like to put their name for, sorry, President Collegian, go ahead.
I'd like to make another amendment, same thing as before. So just a motion to amend the motion to include the phrase, the successful candidate elected to be the hiring committee cannot apply to become a member of the CGB for obvious reasons.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for the amendment? Counselor Malabanan, thank you. Are there any questions about the amendment? Any points of debate? Any objections? Okay, all those in favor of amending this motion, please raise your placard. You can lower your placards. Anybody who's opposed to the amendment? Is anyone abstaining from the amendment? Okay, so we will proceed with the motion as amended. So now we will take nominations for candidates. Anyone who would like to put their name forward for this position, please raise your placard now. Counselor Paresis. Okay, anyone else? Counselor, can you say your name in the mic, please? Sorry.
Sharma also.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so counselors will have 2 minutes to speak on why they would like to fill the role. Again, I'll hold up my hand when there are 30 seconds left and then lower it when you hit 2 minutes. So alphabetically, Maria will be first. Okay.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Maria, social sci counselor. So as I briefly mentioned before, for the past 2 years, I've been involved with the Grants and Recognitions Committee, which heavily works hand in hand with the club's governance system and club's processes. So I'm very familiar with not only the USC's values and what they put into clubs and kind of club programming that gets approved and what the USC wants to portray through their club system, but also how events and proposals like that, the process of all that stuff. And I'm also very familiar with the ratification process and all the forms that clubs have to submit to do that. Through GAR, I've already completed all the USC anti-bias training. I'm under the, I guess, NDA in lack, I can't think of a better way to describe it. So I know how to kind of look for who's qualified and what's not in terms of clubs and stuff like that. So I feel like I know what to look for when hiring for CGB. And it's also just something that I'm really interested in. I love kind of clubs and student services and stuff like that. So that's why I'm interested in running.
Thank you. Counselor Sharma, whenever you're ready.
Hello, my name's Chichi. I'm third year MIT. I've never been on a hiring committee before, but this just seems like a cool opportunity as I've been in a bunch of clubs here at Western. I think I've been in like 7 clubs now. Like it's kind of crazy. Like someone needs to tell me to calm down. But yeah, I just think it'd be a cool opportunity. I have a pretty good stake in like the club's environment here. Pretty familiar with all the forms and every process that you have to go through to try and ratify a club because I read up on it. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. So same thing again, Dana is going to put the link to the Google form on the agenda as well as in the Slack. So please proceed there to vote. Nominees, please do not vote. Anyone who's proxying, you are able to vote as well. So we'll give a couple minutes for that. Okay, thank you everyone for voting. The successful candidate is Councilor Paresis. Congratulations. Okay, so now with that in mind, we're going to return to the original motion, which is to ratify the results of this election. So are there any questions regarding the motion? Are there any points of debate? Are there any objections to the motion? Okay, now you can proceed to Echo 360 to vote for this motion. Okay, thank you, councilors. Our final motion for action tonight is the motion to approve the executive reports. So the motion reads, be it resolved that council accept the executive reports for January 2025. President Collegian is the mover. Can I get a seconder? Councilor Smith. We can now are there any questions? Are there any points of debate? Are there any objections to this motion? Okay, we can now proceed to Echo 360 to vote. Okay, thank you, everyone. So that will conclude our for action section. Now we're just going to go into the first reading of our last 6 motions. During this meeting, you can only ask questions about the motions. Any amendments or points of debate need to be brought up next week. So again, this is just a first reading. We're just going to go through each one. So first we have from the External Affairs Standing Committee, the provincial budget submission recommendations. Okay, so President Collegian is the mover. Can I get a seconder for the motion? Councillor Chai, thank you. So the budget reads, whereas the provincial government will be accepting written submissions for the pre-budget consultations in advance of the upcoming 2025 provincial budget, be it resolved that council approves the provincial pre-budget submission recommendations. Are there any questions on this motion? Okay, given that there are no questions, we'll move to our next motion. So next we have from the Governance and Finance Standing Committee, the amendments to the nominating and selection committee terms of reference. So this is being moved by President Collegian. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Vanderloot, thank you. So this motion reads, whereas the USC conducts continuous review of all documents in its policy manual on a rolling basis, the current policy includes outdated role titles and lacks explicit references to relevant policies. Whereas the proposed updates aim to improve clarity, alignment, and practicality while maintaining the current policy structure and purpose, be it resolved that council approve the proposed amendments to the nominating and selection committee terms of reference. Are there any questions on this motion? Yes, President Collegian.
Sorry, not a question. I just wanted to make sure that you all understood what these represented and you got to read through this. So this is a really easy one. It's just that Daniel is no longer the secretary treasurer, and that's what they refer to him as in this motion, as well as Sarah's position is no longer called student support. It's VPOP. And that's why we've had to make those edits. So very quickly, I just wanted to add those points of clarification just to make the next week a little bit easier.
Thank you. Are there any further questions about this motion at this time? Okay, given that there are no questions, we'll move to our next motion. Also from the Governance and Finance Standing Committee, we have the amendments to the Executive Officer Accountability and Discipline Procedure. This is being moved by President Collegian. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Bennett, thank you. So this motion reads, whereas the USC conducts continuous review of all documents in its policy manual on a rolling basis, whereas the Executive Officer Accountability and Discipline Procedure is scheduled for review in the 2024-2025 academic year, be it resolved the procedure will be amended to include terms that enhance fairness, transparency, and practicality within the executive branch while preserving council's oversight authority. Be it further resolved that council approve the proposed amendments to the executive officer accountability and discipline procedure. Are there any questions on this motion at this time? Okay, given that there are no questions, let's go to our next one. Governance and Finance Standing Committee has brought forward the amendments to the executive officer terms of reference. This one is being moved by President Collegian. And can I get a seconder? Councillor John, thank you. So this motion reads, whereas a comprehensive review of related governance policies necessitates minor amendments to the executive officer terms of reference, whereas the proposed changes improve alignment, clarity, and efficiency within the policy, whereas the removal of the duplicative content streamlines the governance framework, be it resolved that council approve the proposed amendments to the executive officer terms of reference. Are there any questions? Yes, President Collegian.
Sorry, saying anything again. This just goes back to what Shreya was talking about in her executive report. I really do want to shout her out for this as well, because I do think coming into this role, there was a little bit murky guidelines when it came to what the student engagement position was going to look like in practice. And I think now looking at the current job description and what the terms of reference are for that role, she's really done an excellent job at narrowing that down. I think there's, like I said before, it's more about that on the ground work with our students and narrowing down the communications role that it had before. For lack of better words, it's very boots to the ground. And she's really done a lot of good work on that. So if you have any questions about the role, for other people that are interested in, this is kind of like the best way to do it. And it's in a really good spot. So just wanted to clarify. And again, any further questions, she's your girl.
Thank you, President Collegian. Are there any further questions at this time? Okay, given that there are no further questions, we'll move on to our next agenda item. So we have from the Agenda and Council Operations Standing Committee, the amendments to Bylaw 3 motion. This is being moved by President Collegian. Can I please get a seconder? Councillor Saha, thank you. So this motion reads, whereas the USC conducts continuous review of all documents in its policy manual on a rolling basis, whereas Bylaw number 3 is scheduled for review in the 2024-25 academic year, whereas Bylaw 3 currently overlaps with the executive officer's terms of reference, causing ambiguity and inefficiencies, whereas gaps in inclusivity, transparency, and adaptability hinder the bylaw's effectiveness and alignment with the USC's governance framework, be it resolved that council approve the proposed amendments to Bylaw number 3. Are there any questions about this motion at this time? Are there any comments from the mover or the seconder? Okay, given that there are no questions, we'll move on to our first reading of our last motion, which is also from the Agenda and Council Operations Standing Committee, and it is the amendments to Bylaw 4 motion. President Collegian will be the mover. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Sharma, thank you. So this motion reads, whereas the USC conducts continuous review of all documents in its policy manual on a rolling basis, whereas Bylaw number 4 is scheduled for review in the 2024-25 academic year, whereas the VPSS no longer holds responsibilities that require signing authority and limiting signing authority strengthens financial oversight, be it resolved that Bylaw number 4 be updated to remove the VPSS as a signing officer of the USC, be it resolved that council approve the proposed amendments to Bylaw number 4. Do we have any comments from the mover or seconder? Okay, any questions from council on this motion? All right. Given that there are no questions, okay, I'm going to motion to adjourn the meeting until next Wednesday, January 29th at 7 p.m. And a seconder, sure, President Collegian. All right, all those in favor? Okay, anyone opposed? All right, see you next week. Thank you, everyone.